Three, two, one. Hey, hello, everybody in the U.S. and around the world. Welcome to Baseball Outside the Box. I'm your host, Pete Caliendo. Hey, listen, special evening tonight. We are making a special announcement, Baseball Outside the Box. Before we do, just want to let you know that we are in over 100 countries. I want to thank everybody in the U.S. and around the world. We're talking about coaches, players, and parents who listen to the show, and they can listen many different ways. One is our podcast, baseballoutsidethebox.com. Hey, go there and subscribe, and then you'll get free updates all the time on new shows. And we're going to tell you a little bit about our shows also. Also, don't forget, it's streaming live on YouTube, Peter Caliendo. Do us a favor there. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Again, you're helping us out as a show. You're helping to get it out, and you're getting all the updates when you have new shows, so you can check it out right away. If you like it, you can watch that particular show on YouTube. And thank you to ESPN Honolulu. We've been with you now for at least a few months, and we're getting a great response from the people there in Honolulu. I want to thank you all for being part of the show and listening to it. Also, it's on their website again at ESPN Honolulu. So folks, special announcement on Baseball Outside the Box. We've been doing a lot of shows, and we are going to begin a new series. This is going to be separate from Baseball Outside the Box that we do all the time, which basically interviews baseball's best coaching minds who love to challenge the status quo. And we are going to have a once a week youth series. So that is for coaches, players, and parents who have kids in the game of baseball. But it could also relate to other sports, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It can help understand how to work with young kids. You know, I've had the great pleasure for over 39 years being in baseball and also working with young kids at all levels. Started at the Mickey Owen Baseball School, if you follow my career, and the Mickey Owen Baseball School, I started there at 15 years old as a student. Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. Then went on to be a counselor, an instructor at the age of 17, of course, an assistant instructor. I was helping out. Then from there, became director of instructions for Mickey Owen Baseball School. Spent 10 years there working with young kids. I always tell coaches, one of the best things you can do is work with kids 14 and under, especially the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. That's a great age group, all the way to even 10, 11. Great age group to start your coaching career in, because if you can work with those young kids, man, the older players are a lot easier. And I strongly believe that, and living proof, because I've done it. And, I really believe that you can work with the older players a lot better once you've had to break down all the fine points for the young kids and make it fun for them, obviously. We're going to talk about that. So, folks, again, this show is going to be specifically once a week for, I say, volunteer coaches. It's designed specifically for coaches working with young kids, 14 and under, all the way down to 5 years old. We hope that you'll join us, because all we're trying to do is we're trying to help, baseball in general, trying to get some great advice out there, trying to help coaches. This helps parents also, because parents are coaches. Also, parents have to educate kids at the same time. And kids, guess what? You've got to educate yourself too. So it's a three-pronged series. We always believe that if you're educating players, coaches, and parents, that you're helping the game grow much better. If you're only educating coaches, that's one thing. If you're only educating parents, that's another. Players separately. But I think it's a three-pronged system where we have to be all on the same page. Let me tell you about some of the topics that we're going to have. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I'll throw some topics out at you, but you're always welcome to email me at petercaliendo@att.net or caliendo19@gmail.com. Email me with any questions, any comments, anything you want to hear about the show. Let me tell you about some of the topics, because one of the most important topics that we're going to get into right away is, are you spending your money wisely when you have these young kids playing the game of baseball, or any sport actually, to help them develop long-term? What should you really be looking at to take your dollars and spend them in the right way so your kids develop in the game, fairly well, long-term, have fun at the same time, become successful, because when you're successful, you're going to have fun playing the game. And once, they're developing and they get better, then they can worry about some of the things when you get older. You can make those adjustments. We're going to talk about how to run fun practices and that, show results. We're going to teach, how do you handle as a coach during a game? Should you be doing a lot of teaching? Should you be doing a lot of coaching when they're on defense? When do you do it? You just keep quiet. We're going to talk about multi-sport athletes. You know, these young kids, should they only be playing one sport? Well, let's talk about that. Well, maybe we'll bring some experts on there. How about testing kids for specific skills before they actually play the game and understand what their bodies can actually do? We're going to bring some experts in that area. Um, hey, how about that infamous ride home, right? Parents, a lot of times, you know, hey, tough game, kids struggled, you know, it's a game of failure. You're going to fail no matter what. We all know it, but can we really, you know, how do young kids, I know I couldn't deal with it when I was young, you know, so that ride home, what should that talk look like? I think that's going to be an interesting topic to discuss. I think it's very important. Also, how about, you know, getting everybody on the same page, your players, coaches, and parents? How do you do that as a volunteer coach? When should you do it? What should you talk about with the parents? Those are important things because eventually parents can be part of the process. How about holding players accountable for their development at a young age? Yes. You know, and infamously, how about letting kids play the game on their own a little bit? We're going to have a topic specifically on that. How do you do that? What should you let them do? How far do you let them go? Um, what about some of the changes we've made in coaching when working with young kids? You know, how do we talk to kids? Do we ask questions? How do we understand them better? How do they understand us better as coaches? I mean, there's so many things you can talk about here. You know, we forget this part. What about the equipment that you use? You know, we want to talk about the equipment that young players are using. How do you break in the glove? What kind of bat do you pick? How do you pick that bat? Um, you know, and we're going to jump into athletic development. What about, footwork, strength, flexibility? Do young kids need to be working on that? Where's the process here and where do they start? I think that's important for coaches to understand. We're going to be talking about that. And again, I'm giving to you in different topics. These aren't particularly in orders. We're going to pick the right order and what we feel we need to talk about first. The first one will be, how do you spend your money wisely when it comes to, you know, kids playing baseball at a young age? When I wanted to go to Mickey Young Baseball School, my parents couldn't afford it, but they knew I had a passion at that young age, at 9 years old. At that time, 15 years old. I started playing baseball at 9. And, you know, I had a passion. They made that passion. They saw it. And so they made it realistic for me. They figured out a way to get the money and sent me to baseball school. It wasn't just, hey, you know, you just want to do it. I will give you the money. Let's go. When do you start playing baseball? Okay. Who makes that decision? That's something to talk about on one of our shows. So there's going to be a lot of shows that we're going to be doing specifically for volunteer coaches. Those are just some of the topics. There's a lot more. I hope you guys and gals will join us in the U.S. and around the world. And speaking about around the world, don't forget the Olympics are on. Check it out. It's great. I've watched the softball Olympics, loved it. Baseball's coming up pretty soon here in the next few days. Don't forget, check it out. A lot of fun. Support the Olympic baseball, softball programs in the U.S. and around the world. Folks, I want to thank you for joining us this evening for this short announcement on Baseball Outside the Box, expanding the show for volunteer coaches. And again, we call them volunteers, but there's volunteers and there's also coaches that get paid that work with young kids. I think the program will be great for both. I want to encourage parents also to join the show and listen, and finally encourage our players. So again, folks, I'm Pete Caliendo, host of Baseball Outside the Box. Check it out on baseballoutsidethebox.com, YouTube Peter Caliendo, Facebook Peter Caliendo, and ESPN Honolulu. Want to wish everybody a great weekend, and we'll check it out, and we'll check you out. Hopefully you'll check us out next week on Baseball Outside the Box. See you, everybody.